Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. It's almost here, 2019, and we got to have a calendar ready. So here is a super simple and quick calendar easel that I made using some new catalog items from the Occasions catalog. I'm using the tea together, and this is a really neat, just a cute Mother's Day, but also all of us who love tea just get so smitten with the teacups and the teapot and these beautiful flowers here. And the great thing about this stamp set is it does have framelits that come with it. Now these framelits are exclusive to our celebration that starts January 3rd, 2019. And you can get these framelits for free when you do a $100 purchase. So it's like a free item when you're going to be buying some great stuff out of the new catalog anyhow. So these Tea Time framelits are on the celebration lineup, and they pair with the Tea Together Cling stamp set. So we're going to be using that, and we're also going to be using this beautiful Thinlits die called the Florentine Thinlits, and this Thinlit is also bundled with a stamp set in the new Occasions catalog, but we're just going to be using the framelit on this calendar here. As you can see, I have a cute little sentiment here as well, and I pulled that out of the varied vases because I thought the flowers and the blooms, and it's a nice small sentiment, and I looked through the catalog for a sentiment that has days in it because it's a calendar, and I like that, hoping your day blooms with happiness. And so we're going to be using that sentiment right there on the card from the varied vases, and that is in our annual catalog if you're looking for that. So on this card I used a color palette of Balmy Blue, Whisper White, and then I used Daffodil Delight blends and the Granny Apple Green blends. But on the card we're going to change it up and put some Calypso on there. So simple. Let's get started here. The card base, which is the part of the easel, is just a 8.5 by 4 1/4. So 4 1/4, that's not 8.5, guys. That's 11 inches. 11 inches scored at 5.5. and 4 1/4 here. So that's just a half of a piece of your cardstock there. And that will make the easel part. Okay, and then we're going to be die cutting out this beautiful mosaic lattice here. And whenever we do that, it's just simply a 4 by 5 1/4. I'm so super excited. It's a perfect border on that. So kudos to Stampin' Up! For getting that measurement just awesome. So just putting this on here, doesn't that look awesome? Wow. Ooh, I like that. I'm being inspired right as we speak. So we're just going to put that die directly on here. It goes exactly to the edges, and you get this beautiful die that pops out without any difficulty. So that's going to be going on the front of there. So again, 4 by 5 1/4. All measurements, colors, supplies that I use will be on the blog post for this card. We're just going to need a strip to put that sentiment on, which I already stamped there. And I used you can use any kind of black since we're not coloring on it, but I use my Memento. And this is actually 5/8. So 5/8, and then you're gonna snip a little bit off when you put the flowers on, but this needs a 5/8 measurement for stamping, hoping your day blooms. You have a lot of those 1/2 inch strips in your scrap from cutting these inserts into your cards, but this will be 5/8. Okay, so we've got that. So let's just go ahead and get this glued on here. And this is one where when I use my Tombow, I make a little dollop there, and I have that as my little glue well, and it just makes it easy. I don't have to. You want to make sure you get into these corner right on the edges. So I just kind of just use that as my, you can also use, you know, toothpicks, the end of a wooden skewer, anything. You can use the tip edge of a piece of paper as well. But I find it easier than trying to push the glue out and then end up with a blob, because this is one card where you don't want a big blob oozing out because you're going to end up seeing it, and it'll be coming through the lattice part of the card, and it's hard to get in there and remove that adhesive. So just make yourself a little glue blob and just do some, use the end of your Tombow glue as your stylus there. And just make sure to get those edges right on the corners, because that's where you want it to be adhered the most. So just a little more dabs in here, and then right over on this edge, maybe a little there. Okay, so then like I said, this is a perfect layering measurement here. So we're going to just take our balmy blue and we're going to adhere the Florentine Thinlit with a nice 1/8 inch border all around. So I think that looks good from my eye here. You have a little wiggle room with that glue. So there we've got the base part done. And that just reminded me of a lattice, a trellis out in the garden. And that's why I decided to use these pretty little blooms, roses here. And so, like I said, I just stamped those in Memento, because whenever you're stamping with Memento, you can use your alcohol blends. And I used the light Calypso Coral, and I think I used the dark of the, yeah, Granny Apple Green. So I thought these colors, you know, if you would have put this like red, a red rose or something, I think it kind of was a little too bold for this. I just wanted to make the subtle colors, and they just look really pretty. You'll see on the front of the catalog they used balmy blue and some real pretty light green, and it looks like maybe a petal pink. So I just like the softer colors, and that's going to end up going onto our card with the sentiment that we stamped from the varied vases. But let's get to work on making this box here that's going to hold some Post-it notes. So there you go. So to make that box, we're going to be using a quarter sheet of our cardstock in balmy blue, and it is actually 5.5 by 4.25, so you can get 4 of these out of your sheet. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make some score lines. So I'm going to bring my scoring tool in here, get my stylus, and we're going to take the 5.5 inch side and put it at the top of the scoring tool, and we are going to score it at 2.5 and at 3. So score at 2.5 and then score it at 3 on the 5.5 inch side. Then we're going to turn it so the 4.25 inch side is at the top, and we're going to score it at 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch here. So that's technically 1/2 inch and 3 3/4. But if you just go 1/2 inch in, 1/2 inch in, and then we've got are scored. And while we're at it, no, we'll come back to that. So what we're going to do now here is we just have to snip out so we can make this box, okay? So we're just going to snip out these 2 little squares right here. Well, we're actually not snipping it out. We're just snipping up on those 2 little lines on the 5.5 inch side. We're just going to cut up to the score line, okay? And then we're just going to play around with our scores, because this is going to be the box. So we're just going to get our bone folder and get a nice crease there. Get a nice crease on this side. And also on these 2 sides here. This is just a quick little box that will hold the Post-it note holders on the front of the calendar. So you've got double duty there. I have one of these that somebody made me one year for Christmas, and I have it sitting on my desk. I love it. So what we're going to do is going to put a little bit of tear tape. So you want to have a good adhesive for this, because you're going to be pulling out those Post-it notes. And so just take your tear and tape. I love our tear and tape because you can literally tear it with your fingers. I see a lot of people at classes getting their scissors out, but literally this isn't like the other red line that we used to have that was really secure. So what you're going to do is put the tear and tape there. And then we are going to do our first adhering to do the box. So we're going to pull off that there, and we're just going to fold over this little, fold it over on that little square, okay? And we're going to do the same thing on this side. There we go. And I see there's a little bit of, if you have a little bit of hangover there, just pull it over onto there, and then we're going to do it on the same side. Don't do it on this side, but do it on the same side that you did it on the other one, and then just make a nice square adhering there. And then you've got the beginnings of your box. Now, I like to take a look here because I want to have a nice clean edge, okay? So I'm going to do it the same way on each side. So that means I'm going to need to put adhesive on here or on here. So I'm going to actually put it on here. And once again, getting my tear and tape out, I'll just put it closer to the edge instead of closer to the score line because that's where I want it to really be adhered. And just tear it with my finger and do the same thing here. Put it against the edge, the outside edge, not in towards there. And you don't need to have two layers of it, you know, 2 stripes of it. And then we're just going to use to get the tear tape off, we're just going to use our paper piercer, get underneath that little protective thing there, strip, and then just pull it off and clean that off later. Get in there with your paper piercer. Looks like my paper piercer actually needs a little degooing. I've been using it a lot. Okay, so now we're going to just be careful to get a nice clean look on here. And if you have, sometimes you end up having a little bit of overhang. If you do, sometimes I'll just snip it right as I'm making it. And I can see I have a little bit of overhang there. Okay, so now I just put that side together, apply a pressure, and the same thing over here. I'm paying more attention to, there we go. Press it there, and now I've got my box made. And then when I go to put it on, I'll put this edge here that you can see, I'll put it towards the back of there. So here we go. This is going to end up going on here. So I'm just going to sit that there so that I know my placement of my sentiment here. So I'm just going to snip a little bit off of here, and then just, I cut these on my trimmer. So if you end up with a little bit of a lip that comes up when you do your Stampin' trimmer, if you just take your fingernail and rub across it, it is fine. Now you'll see these 4 mosaics shapes that are made here. I want to show a little bump on each side of it. Like you could put it anywhere, but I'm just like one of those people that likes to have everything. There's my, oops, sorry if I moved the camera there. Here's my snail. So I'm going to put some snail right across the sentiment. And I'm going to line up the right edge, and I'm going to keep a symmetrical bump on each side, and then put this edge flush. And there I've got my sentiment on there. Okay, so now after I've colored my beautiful blooms, I'm going to be playing around. Now when I played around with this, it was, I kind of like had the little buds going off and kind of going around the sentiment, and then had the flower there. So we're going to be using some dimensionals as well. So we're going to put some dimensionals on the back of our rose, our big bloom. And then we're going to put some, we're going to take some of these little edges. I could use my little mini dimensionals, which I love, except for they're across the room right now, ding dong. So there we go. We got our dimensionals on there, and we might as well just go ahead and take these off and finish. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this little guy on first. I don't know which one to do. Okay, so I know what we're going to do first. We're going to put our Post-it note alongside here too, because I made one of these when I was in the test phase, and then I had it too high. So if you put it on there knowing where it's going to go, you can then play around with your flower. There you go. Got your flower on there, and then you want to put your little buds so that you don't see just that little edge of the bud. There you go. And then I thought it would be cute to put a little one up here. And I am going to put some of the tear and tape on here because that little bud I think is in a precarious situation because the placement of it underneath the calendar. So we're just going to pop off this adhesive protector there. And we know that our calendar, let's get that right there. And I'm just going to sit this here for a second because I just realized I need a calendar. So let me go grab one across the room. Dummy me. So anyhow, I got these calendars from tailoredexpressions.com, so you can find those there. And I just take that one off, and I'm going to put some tear and tape on the back of here. Like I said, you want to have a nice hold on this. And since this calendar doesn't have, putting it 3 strips at least on here, this calendar that I made doesn't have the date anywhere on the actual easel, so it can be used again. But of course, you're going to want to have something new after looking at this one for a year. So we're going to also take off our protective covering off of here. Whoop! This is going to be a fun floor desk cleanup today or tomorrow or whenever I get to it. How many of you guys end up having that mess everywhere? Okay, so we know that this is going to be centered on the balmy blue box. So hopefully I've got that centered because I'm looking from a different angle so my head isn't in the camera. So there we go. And we're just going to pop this little bud right there. And it gave it a little bit of visual there. And then, of course, tear and tape again on the back because angle my fingers. I think it'd be easier to just do it that way. Got a little bit too big. Oh, but I love this tear and tape. My friend Kay uses it to make all of her cards at class. So she has, she's always putting it there. It scares me just a tiny bit because I think, oh, she has to pull that layer off because it's not straight, it's tear tape. But my Kay, nothing makes her afraid. She's one of my fearless friends. She'll go off and do anything. Everything's an adventure with Kay. So here we go. We are going to get this protective covering off of here, and then we'll pop this on, and we literally made that calendar in lickety split. Okay, so lickety split. I'm not putting that on yet because we need to make the easel part. So here's the part that holds your easel together. And because this is going to be a little bottom heavy, when you sit this on your desk, you're going to want to pop down this little mountain that's made here. So we're going to look here, and I'm going to show you how we do that. Simply using a piece of balmy blue, and this is 4 1/4 by 3, 4 1/4 by 3, and then I just scored it at a 1/2 inch on each side and then right in the middle. So this would have been a 1/2 inch, and then this would have been 1 1/2. Yeah, let's just do this here. So we would have scored it 1/2, 1 1/2, and 2 1/2. Okay, so then we just want to pay attention here because I know when we made something like this in class one time, you're going to do your folds. Okay, so you're going to accordion fold that easel part, but it's very easy to get a little confused and put it the wrong way. So what you want to do is have it looking like a W to you, you're looking straight on and it's a W. Okay, then you're going to put adhesive, once again, adhesive on these flaps here, and I put it kind of right about in the middle. So you're going to put your tear and tape on that flap, which is the one part of the end of the W, and then do the other one. Whoop, sticky. Okay, so now when you go to put your easel together, it's going to go like this. So think of it, it has to look like a W to you, okay? And again, there we go. And get the other one off. Come on there, alrighty. Okay, so when we go to put this together, this is our front. So we're going to put the back on first, and we're just going to, see, I'm still nervous with myself. Make sure it's going the right way. No, it has to be a W. Remember, that way, a W. Okay, so that means I'm going to put this piece, hard to get there. We're going to put this piece, I want to make sure you can see it, along the edge. The score line is right along the edge of the paper. Okay, so as you can see here, hopefully this shows you how it still looks like a W whenever you're going to make it, okay? Then you can just close this one down, and then this is going to, but you can also just line up right along with the score line on this one, okay? And there we've got the easel, and it looks like a W. Just remember W, 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 W. W, W. Okay, so there we go. Now we can put our box on, okay? And when I do that box, I just kind of, you know, find something that makes it nice and symmetrical as well. Just look at the different shapes that are on that lattice. And there you go. And I can just pull this out and use my bone folder to just burnish the inside of the box. And look at that, we've got a calendar. So, super simple. Literally, you could have this done in less than 5 minutes easily. So we used soft colors, daffodil, and Calypso Coral with the balmy blue. I was thinking when I was making this how beautiful the black and white would have been, but I was thinking with these soft colors of the blooms, I was thinking blue skies and the trellis, so that was my color palette for this. And if you'd like to make one of these, just go to the blog post for the easel calendar using the Tea Time framelits and the Tea Time stamp set. So if you have any questions, you can always email me at cindyleeb@gmail.com. You can call me or text me at 724-323-2296. I love hearing from you. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.